Okay. Hi. Oh my god. Hi. Hello. My name is Mina. So this is Awesome Sauce, and I applied as a transfer this year to a bunch of schools after getting my ass whooped diabolically in high school as a senior. So just a little disclaimer, this is only relevant for my year, which is admits of fall 2024. So things might change, they might get better, they might get worse. I also want to say that my final decision is to probably take UCSD for ICAM, which is interdisciplinary cinema and like media, so like the arts, digital art and stuff like that. There were almost no resources online for USC's game art program, which was technically my dream school for most of my community college experience. The only other video I found that was really helpful was Phoenix's video, which I actually reached out to him and he was really nice. So thank you, Phoenix. He helped out a lot. I'll link that below, but you've probably seen it already if you're like going down the rabbit hole. To clarify, I am a game art admit for the Trojan transfer program. And game art is a newer program, so there's definitely less information about it online. But like this should also be kind of relevant to like the USC games in general. So, you know, there's like the game design program and stuff like that, which I didn't apply to. So I'll be going through my entire portfolio, which was there's just 10 to 15 pieces, and obviously I did the full 15 pieces. I don't know if they were very good, but hey, I got in, so it's fine. Okay, so first I'm gonna talk about my stats. Anything I say, I'll put like photos, examples, or whatever here. But my GPA in community college, which I did for 2 years at a local one, was 3.4, so it wasn't very good. It was just like whatever, basically. But again, like obviously I applied for an art program, so I'm assuming it wasn't weighed as much. And that seemed to be what like my counselors were saying too. But yeah, 3.4, and then I also applied with some APs I took from high school, so that was psychology, Ling and Lit, and AP Stats. But yeah, not all of them like applied or whatever, but that's just like what went into my Common App, which I hate a Common App, by the way. It was really confusing. Transfers know that there's like a completely separate website. It's like much worse, so I would definitely like double check everything that you're doing. If you have anyone that's like a college counselor or something like that, usually like a lot of, you know, community colleges offer one. I would definitely do it with them, because there's a lot of random stuff that it's like much harder to find or just doesn't exist because you're using the transfer portal instead of the first year portal. One thing that freaked me out a lot is that there were a bunch of like, you know, the only resources would be for first years, and they would be talking about like, oh guys, how did you do this part in the app, or how did you do this in the portal? And I was like, what? So yeah, just know that there's like a lot of things that are different, and I would like definitely double check everything, go to your counselor with like a huge list of questions, and yeah, that helped me out a lot because I was really scared a lot of the time that I was doing something wrong. It's also commonly known transfers have it a lot easier, so like definitely I don't think that I'm as impressive as some of like the first years that got in. Most of my classes were following the UC program, like there's the IGETC, for the UCs. I did all of those, and because you need the 60 credits to transfer, I also did some extra classes just by using USC's art or game art major planner. They have like this planner online that you can find if you just look that up. I'll probably link it below, but it's not very good. It's really janky. It's really bad, but it, you know, it gets the job done. It just lists out all the classes that transfer. I noticed that game art isn't in Assist, which is what most people use. So yeah, you have to use like their janky website for it, but it is what it is. I just filled the rest of my classes with that, just to try and get, you know, a better chance at getting in. And yeah, I'll also be talking about my extracurriculars a bit. I think I'll put them in the description unless I go through them and I'm like, oh, this is kind of like private or whatever. But a lot of my extracurriculars, I filled out, I think it was 18 of them. A lot of them had to do with either art, games, or both, or like I felt like it was some way connected. I've been working since I was 13 at like a couple different places, so, and I like tried very hard to make it into jobs that, you know, would pay okay and also were relevant to my field. So some of like the notable ones is that I worked as a camp counselor for a game dev program where you teach like girls how to make games, and I also thought that was like pretty relevant because I'm a girl. And obviously we're not as common in the game industry. So what I've heard, just, you know, with talking with the people from USC, people just like in my circle who I know went to school for game stuff or just art stuff or just went to school in general, and, you know, counselors, is that it's really important to show that you're being proactive and that you're not really like just reacting to things, you know, it's like you go out of your way to like make your own opportunities. So I focused a lot on that. I mean, yeah, I feel like I've always been kind of like annoying and insistent. So, you know, a couple things that I did that went into my application was volunteering. So like I volunteered to teach art to kids about once a week. And then I also taught at an art school on 2 different occasions to kids. One of which was directly for concept art and games. Like obviously it was like to younger kids, but like, you know, whatever. It is what it is. I worked on a couple teams for games. Like I did a project with UCLA. I actually didn't I didn't give the details of this because I wasn't sure if it was weird for me to be like, yeah, I worked with like your technical rival school or whatever. But I worked with UCLA on a games project. And I also have some people that I know that are at UCLA for games, and that helped me a lot to kind of like break in. So yeah, definitely knowing people helps, and you can't really just like run into people. Like you definitely have to make an effort to like find people that care about games as much as you do. Yeah, I think it helped a lot to show that I was specifically interested in game art, not just like art. Yeah. Okay, so portfolio wise, I did my full 15 pieces, like I said. I actually did most of it over the span of like 3 weeks or so. Like I grinded a bunch of fundamentals and stuff, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna lock in for my portfolio. Some of it is like mashed older stuff that I like refreshed and whatever. And yeah, that ended up being good for me for time. So like, I don't think it's a bad idea to just take old pieces and refresh them, especially if you're like running low on time. Because it worked for me. I don't know, but the only other thing I want to say is that I did a free portfolio review with LCAD, like the Laguna School of Art and Design, and they were really cool. They do free portfolio reviews. I did some digging to find it, but they were pretty helpful. Like they only gave me information that was relevant to their school, so I don't actually know how much of it was relevant to USC, but it was good to still get some insight on like, oh, I like this piece, this piece would be really good for our school, and, you know, because they're still like an art school. And yeah, it was really helpful. So notably, my portfolio had a lot of text, and I'm still hearing mixed answers as to whether or not this was like, that was like a good idea. But like Laguna told me to take out most of the text. But okay, so first of all is my illustration of my original character. This is the very first piece in my portfolio in the slide room. I thought it was bright, I thought it was bold, I thought it was fun. It showed, you know, some like, you know, simple composition. It was a solid example of like my art style. I just thought it would be good to have something kind of like eye-catching and kind of like, you know, makes you want to keep going to look, or like something that kind of opens up the entire portfolio. So the next 4 pieces were just fundamentals. I'll go through these pretty quickly. My first 2 were all traditional, so I just took photos of them, and then, you know, I messed with like saturation, you know, contrast, all that stuff, just to make it kind of look all cohesive. It took forever to edit, but I already had most of these drawn, so it was a really good time saver, and, you know, fundamentals are always good to put into portfolios. So yeah, the first 2 were all traditional, and then the last 2 were digital. I did the same thing where I smashed a bunch of like pages together from my digital sketchbook, so, you know, like from my tablet, and I just wanted to show like a good variety of anatomy, and also just that like when I study things, trying to like express my own style in it, or make it like interesting, not just like a one-to-one copy, but there are some of those too. My next 2 are D&D characters, so Maud and Paz are my original characters, and this was more just like, you know, character design. I tried to do a turnaround of both of them. I did multiple clothes of Paz, just to kind of show like different designs, different processes. And like Maud's sheet is like a whole, like I have notes on her like weapons, a little description. It's not very game art-y, to be honest. It's kind of giving like quota roleplay character. But I still thought it kind of showed off like, or I tried to show that I was interested in making characters, I was interested in writing characters, designing clothes, designing, you know, props, like external art, like all that stuff. So that's just what those 2 are for. They're also in like the same universe, so I kind of tried to show that, you know, I can make characters that like relate to each other or look good next to each other, rather than just like standalone characters and standalone worlds. I actually had a couple ideas for my portfolio that I would have added if I had time. Like this universe is like kind of like a, I don't even know how to, like a culty pirate ship, I guess. So one of my ideas was to do a full design of the pirate ship, either in 3D or 2D, but I didn't get around to it, so I just left the character designs in, and, you know, left other parts for environmental. Yeah. And the next piece in my portfolio is a horror mascot piece. So this was one of the things that I kind of just pulled out of my ass in the last like week or two, but I'm actually pretty happy with this one. I wanted to show that I was aware of like trends in games, so you know, like mascot horror is like going crazy right now, or just like general horror that's like a little bit more accessible. So you know, like Lethal Company is going crazy at this point, like all the Poppy Playtime games, all that stuff. So I just wanted to show that I was like aware of that, and kind of trying to show that like I also think I understand like what makes like this kind of horror interesting. And I wrote a lot in this submission, so I wanted to also show just like not only am I thinking about characters visually, but like how they might work in a game, or like interesting tidbits, or like just like try to show like bits of creativity, make them really feel alive. So you can see like I put little notes of like, you know, like how they might, or like how they are. I try to put little bits of like how they are in universe, like whether or not they're like docile, dangerous, like some maybe like interesting facts about them. Like in my piece, I showed that like they're like massive, right? Like huge. I talked about how like people would usually walk underneath them because of their sheer size. And how like, for example, their like little legs kind of stuck into the ground, and would end up kind of looking like a tree stump, or like a tree root, basically. And then I even talked about like the texture and stuff like that. The color, tried to like, I even like, you know, drew like the little person next to it just to like give it some scale. And then I put the big illustration next to it just to show like that I could do simple, quick art that kind of gets across the concept. So yeah, literally. You can also see it actually started from like an original like actual animal, or sorry, an actual insect. So I tried to show that I did like a few studies of that first, just to show that like I have a grasp of what I'm basing it off of, and then I started like pushing features, changing features. Now to get into the more like actual game art stuff, so I made like all the icons and stuff like that. I also did like little blurbs of like actual game design, so you know, like moves and stuff like that, but they were super rushed, not much thought put into it, I'm gonna be honest, but I just wanted to show that, you know, I was still trying to think of them as like a part of a kit, and mostly I just wanted to write the barks. Like I love writing like little barks, little dialogues. Oh my god, chill, okay, sorry, that's my dog. And I just wanted to show that, yeah, I was like actually interested in games, and that I could think of good ways. So yeah, I just wanted to show that I was actually interested in games, and so I just wanted to show that I was actually interested in games and could at least like attempt to replicate styles, and thinking of characters cohesively as like actual game characters, so you know, like how they might be in universe and stuff like that, that's already like preset or like assigned to me, I guess. So yeah, overall I think it was a pretty important piece. Next one was just some quick thumbnails. I actually started these maybe like 3 years ago, and then I touched them up recently, just to put into my portfolio. So yeah, there's like, I tried to follow like rules of good composition, and I put in little blurbs to give like a little bit, oh my god, to give it a little bit more of a story. And yeah, I just like tried to follow like ArtStation. If you go on ArtStation and look like, oh, you know, like compositions or like practice thumbnails and stuff like that, I try to replicate those. So next is probably one of my more like unconventional portfolio pieces. I don't know, I still like felt like at the end I was like, I don't even know if I should have put that in. But I tried to show a concept, like complete process of the merch I designed. If I had time, I would have also showed the finished product. Like I got it like shipped, printed as little keychains and stickers and stuff like that. But I didn't have enough time, or like didn't come in time. But yeah, I just tried to show like different thumbnails. I tried to also show that I was actually thinking of them as like objects rather than just like, you know, like designs. So I showed like its silhouette at different sizes, in like proper colors like CMYK or whatever, and give like some thought, or like kind of show like my thought process in terms of like marketing. Like you'll even see like I was like, I have notes like, oh, I don't know if this is maybe like too gruesome, or like maybe it wouldn't sell well because it's kind of like kind of dark, I guess. and like all my different iterations and stuff like that. Probably my least favorite piece of my portfolio. I kind of bashed this shit out in like 2 hours, the day before it was due. I suck in environment. I don't like coloring environments. I'm horrible at them, but it felt really wrong to not do a portfolio without them. If anything, I just wish I had more time, because you can see in my little thumbnails I have other ideas, and low-key I like the last one the best, but I was just like, there's no way I can finish something like that intricate in that short of a time, so I just like said fuck it and chose one of the other ones. I kind of regret it, but like, what can you do? Yeah, I was trying to show that I can like color and like have a decent idea of composition, contrast, but I just think it was really unsuccessful. I don't like it at all. But I wanted to put in the 15, so I submitted it, and you know, good idea or not. Third to last piece, I also did this on the day it was due, again in like 2 hours or something. I just wanted to do like a quick concept of like snow and like, you know, some more like more stylized environment. So, you know, a lot like kind of flatter colors, a little bit more like abstract, like a little bit more like movement almost. Yeah, so the world doesn't exist, the monster doesn't exist. I just like kind of threw that shit onto my paper the day of, like, you're gonna have some hits, you're gonna have some misses, it is what it is. I just wanted there to kind of seem like there's like a story, and like wanted the person seeing my portfolio to think like, oh, like I wish I knew a little bit more about this story. Like that's kind of vibe I was going for. So, and second to last, so one of the things I do is on the side are like zines or zines. So there's like fan magazines with like, you know, fan art and like writing, all of that stuff. By the time I applied, I didn't have anything of my work that was printed. I do now, but not then. But I did also do graphics work for them, aside for like writing for them and drawing for them. So I just did like a log basically of the graphic design work I did for one of the designs I was modding in. So yeah, you can see the icons I made in Illustrator, the GIFs I made in like After Effects, Photoshop and stuff like that. I'm also really interested in graphic design, so I just felt like it was pretty important to put something like that in there. And zines I thought it would be a good idea because, you know, there's like moving stuff, there's still stuff. I have to show that, you know, I can make things from scratch, so I can edit things. So yeah, just like mashed together. And finally, again, kind of like coming back to like the language thing, I hand translated a part of a music video I like, or like a song I like. And then I made an animation for it. So like you can see the style. It's like, I even put in my little notes like kind of people I was inspired by. You can see it's kind of like purposely janky, kind of like almost like pretentious, like artsy vibe, but I was like, I just wanted to throw something like that in there because I really like bold colors, so you'll see a lot of that in there. I like kind of like non-conventional or like unconventional like music videos or lyric videos and stuff like that. But yeah, generally I just wanted to show again that I can like edit videos, that I can like express my thoughts creatively, I guess, and also that I like languages and I like translating them. It was translated from Korean. And so yeah, just again like showing kind of like interest in different areas that are still all like relevant to games. So yeah, that was my portfolio, full 15 pieces. Again, like there's some hits, there's some misses, but it was probably the most important part of my application. So hopefully it was kind of like interesting and gave you an idea of like what you can put into your portfolio. ICAM only took 4, so I chose the, I chose the animated lyric video with a translation, my character sheet of Maud, my little pirate, my pirate girl, one of my digital sketchbook, and then I also put in my my Nazar, my illustration. So yeah, because ICAM is like more about, it's not really like focused on games, so I just tried to show like a wide variety of like different, like how I interact with media, I guess. Finally, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about my like experience applying and getting all my transfer shit back. because a lot of it I was surprised by and kind of wish I had a better idea of when I was doing the whole thing. I went to Davis for digital media. I got rejected from Irvine, which is kind of sad, but it's whatever. I got into UCSC for game design, and then I got into UCSD for ICAM, and then I got into USC for game art. And so just like talking a bit more about my process specifically with USC, because that's probably what you're here for. I think like TLDR, if I had to think of like one thing I felt walking away, is that I just felt like they didn't give a fuck about their transfers like at all. And like obviously I know, you know, it's just a school, like they're trying to make money or whatever, but like there were just so many times I was like frustrated throughout the whole process. There were so many times like I feel like my expectations were on the floor and I was still like really disappointed. One major thing that like really pissed me off is that they only gave me about a week to choose whether or not I'd commit. So a bunch of my UC stuff came pretty early, like March or something like mid-March, and USC sent out their decisions around late May, so it was like May 26, 27, 28, like that area, really short. And then they also gave me until June 7th to commit, which is like, that's crazy. Especially because the UC deadlines are like June 1st. So I had to do this like really unhinged thing where I accepted UCSDs early just because I was like really scared I wouldn't have enough time. And then I was like, okay, if I really end up going to USC, I'm going to bite the bullet and take the 250 or lose the 250 deposit. And yeah, that was like really worst case scenario. Like at the end of the day, I'm still trying to save money where I can. And I was also like 80% sure I wouldn't get to see either of the schools before, or I wouldn't be able to get to see USC if I committed, just because of the crazy time frame. But like, you know, like my parents are goated, you know, we made it work. The whole USC experience, like I won't go into all of it here, but it was kind of nightmarish. It's like a weird time for USC right now with like was really disappointing. And like, again, huge disclaimer, this is just my experience. I also think I came at a really bad time. Like, I was already kind of, like, turned off to all the, you know, like, all the problems they were having with, like, protesters and the fact that there were, like, a bunch of, like, private security guards on campus. While we walked around, we were, like, me and my friend who goes to USC were kicked out, like, of a building. And it was just really, like, surreal, and it just felt odd. I was just like, damn, like, they got their fucking private security, like, you know, maybe obviously I'm wrong, I don't know the whole situation, but it's just like, I wonder if like this is what my tuition would be going towards. And it was just like really, it was just really awkward. It was really bad. They like did like hella back checks just to get into like the campus. I had to be like pre-registered. I couldn't get like any spots for like tours or anything as a transfer. I barely got to like look at any of the buildings. It was just rough. And, like obviously I know it's my summer, all that, but it was just kind of crazy that I was only given a week to commit, and even within that week, I couldn't really find any, like, resources, even after, like, trying really hard. So yeah, that was just, like, my general feeling from USC. And then I had a bunch of other factors that kind of eventually made me choose UCSD, but I don't think, like, people want to hear me yap about that. I don't think people want to hear me yap about that. I don't think people really want to hear me yap about that, but just, you know, overall, like, TLDR, financial situation, like, I could not go, like, feasibly, or, like, I could not justify, you know, that kind of money at all, and it's just, like, a lot of pressure. I could not justify that kind of money at all, and USC, like, it's really hard to find information about this online, but USC puts their game art students on a 3-year plan, and from what I'm understanding from my USC game friends, I've heard some interesting things about the games advisor there, and also that I probably wouldn't be able to get a really firm answer about whether I'd be able to graduate in 2 years or not, and like, that was, like, a major turnoff for me, because I want to know that information before I commit, but, like, usually that's told to you after you get your advisor, is, like, what I'm understanding, and my friend even talked about, like, how she has to take another, semester there, like, pay for another full semester there, because of one class, and it's just, like, a lot of, like, nightmarish stuff that I didn't even want to, like, consider. I just felt like it would bring me a lot of stress. So yeah, I should also say, just like game art, the like program, I should also just say like the classes, a lot of them didn't really seem too interesting to me. Or I should also say that the like USC game art classes, like after kind of revisiting them, talking to my friends about them, I wasn't really sure if they'd be for me. UCSD's ICAM program, like I felt was like gave you a little bit more wiggle room to choose like with like really fun electives. I feel like I just overall felt like it was more right to me. I also did not really like the USC area. I did not grow up very far from the LA area at all, so like it's not like I'm new to like kind of like sketchy places. But it just didn't feel very safe. I didn't really, and like it kind of seems like a lot of USC students like don't even want to leave campus, or don't like leave campus if they're like, or especially girls like don't leave campus like at night or alone and stuff like that. And like I don't know, it just didn't feel right. The architecture didn't fuck with me. Maybe it was like shit was under construction, but like everything was messy. There was like shit everywhere. Everything was like messy. Just like not what I expected of a private school. I don't know, maybe my expectations were too high. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, I just didn't really like it. It didn't really call to me, but I also toured UCSD and I love that shit. Like Guys of the Library, like that was kind of delicious. And so yeah, just overall like felt like I could save money, felt like I already had some like good connections, and that I was already working towards games. So eventually I went and chose UCSD, but like a solid 70% of it was because I wanted to save money. But yeah. Hi, just jumping in real quick because I forgot to talk about the interview in my video. Crazy how I yapped for so long and forgot to talk about something, but whatever. So, I got my email from USC that they wanted to do an interview with me a couple weeks, after I turned in my application. Naturally, I was freaking out, but I also really like interviews. Like, I'm a massive yapper. I love talking about games, so I just, like, put in my reservation for literally the next day. Like, I was like, whatever. My interviewer was really nice. He was, like, kind of intimidating, but he was really funny, and I think we had a good time. He just kind of generally asked me questions about, me and my interest in games. I'm trying to remember what specific questions they asked, but, like, he did ask about, what games I like, or, like, my favorite games, like, what I do in my free time, and then also about, like, a recent project I worked on, all of which I was very happy to answer. One really funny thing that happened in the interview, that, like, kind of clued me in on maybe what other people were feeling was that when I joined, I was immediately like, hi! And one thing about me, I'm fucking, like, I'm loud, I get really excited, I feel like it's really easy to tell, and he was like, oh, whoa, like, relax, like, you're fine, like, it's just, it's just a casual interview, and I was like, oh, no, I wasn't nervous, I was just really excited, like, I just like talking about games, and he was like, oh, okay, but it just makes me think, I guess a lot of people are really nervous when they go in, and I feel like it helped a lot that I was excited, and, like, clearly just, like, wanted to talk about my passions. So, yeah, maybe, like, I know it's easier said than done, but maybe, like, calming your nerves before, or, yeah, just like, treating it what it is. Like, they just, like, ask you fun questions about yourself. They just want to get to know you better as a person. And I feel like that helped a lot, and I made him laugh a few times, so we'll take that as a win. But, yeah, overall, it was a pretty casual interview. They didn't expect me to bring anything or, like, do anything. Yeah, but yeah, it was really fun. I really liked the interview. That's probably it. I hope that was helpful, and if you, like, have any questions about anything, like, obviously I'm not gonna be a USC student, so I don't know how useful I'd be, but I have, like, an Instagram. I don't know, like, the entire process was just really crazy, but it was a really good learning experience, and I was just frustrated a lot of the time, so if there's, like, any way I can help, I'd be happy to help. Feel free to reach out to me. And yeah, I hope it was helpful. Bye.